Vikrant Reddy is with us from Right on Crime. Vikrant, how are you, sir?
I'm great. It's good to be back on.
Yeah, it's good seeing you
buddy.
again. You know, I was talking to the break, and I said, you know, we do kind of cover ways that law enforcement are trying to bring down the crime rate instead of passing another useless gun control law.
Sure.
And so I was very pleased to see I got an email last night from one of our listeners. Gary sent this in out of Durham, North Carolina, where Durham's department, they've got a thing called Operation Bullseye that focuses on a 2 square mile area in East Durham that accounted for nearly 20% of Durham's violent crime in which firearms were used. Since they focused on that 2 square mile area, overall violent crime down 46%, drug calls down 42%, violent gun crime down 46%, sound of shots fired calls down 53%, prostitution calls down 61%. You know, it seems so simple, Vikrant, but it's oftentimes this stuff is overlooked. If you want to really knock out violent crime, start with the most violent neighborhoods.
Sure.
Exactly.
Start with the most violent individuals. Right?
Exactly. Now you go right where the crimes are. You know, we've had such great innovations in technology over the last 10, 20 years in this country. We can identify where the criminal hotspots are. It's not hard. We know where those places are. And so we should target the limited resources we have in law enforcement at those hotspots rather than casting with a broad brush and taking away people's Second Amendment rights.
What are some of the other areas that you folks at Right on Crime are looking at as far as you know, ways to, again, continue to see this drop in violent crime in this country, to keep it going, and to not, you know, go off on some you know, blind path that leads to bad results? What would you like to see more of in this country?
Well, we had a great panel this morning on the main stage here at CPAC. It was on criminal justice reform. Grover Norquist was there. Pat Nolan was there. Former New York City Police Chief Bernie Kerik, who has been on both sides of the bars. And then most interestingly, Governor Rick Perry from Texas, where I'm from. I think people were wondering why was Governor Perry invited. I think it's probably because of his comments about marijuana in Davos a few weeks ago.
Right.
Now, what I think got a little misconstrued is people thought that Governor Perry came out in favor of legalization. He did not. He was talking about the things we've done in Texas, and I'd like to see in a few other states, where we have decriminalized marijuana to a certain degree. What you can do, for example, in 2007 in Texas, we identified a really interesting problem. People weren't getting locked up for small marijuana possession crimes. That's a myth.
Okay.
They get probation. However, you get arrested, and as you wait for your trial date, you're waiting behind bars, and we're all paying for that. We're paying for you to eventually get probation. So what the governor and the legislature did was they said, why don't we do a cite and summons, where you write a ticket and you tell the person, you have to come to court for your trial date. If you don't, then of course there's a warrant out for you. It would save so much money. This is very sensible. It takes the drug problem seriously. It doesn't legalize marijuana, but it saves money, and it's really better at prioritizing your resources and ensuring public safety.
Really interesting.
It's a common sense approach, and I know that they're talking about various things like that. Strangely enough, in my home state of Maryland, state where we are now, what we call the well-run state, because they never seem to do anything right. Certainly, you know, it is one of these things where, as we are, well, there are two ways to sort of look at this. There's the constrained resources issue, which is always important. But getting back to some of the things you were talking about, for me, it's this issue of actually trying to prioritize public policy. And we seem to, in America, when we engage in public policy, we tend to sort of go in crisis mode. We never assess risk. We never actually determine what should be a priority. It seems to me that's exactly what you're looking at in terms of the things you guys are advocating for.
Oh, yeah, exactly. It's prioritizing. Look, it's an economic truth. You've got limited resources. You can't spend on everything. So you identify where it's most important to place those resources. And at the end of the day, I would say prison is a place for people that we're scared of, not people we're mad at.
Amen.
So let's find ways in the community to safely supervise the people that we're mad at.
Vikrant Reddy, Right on Crime is the organization. Thank you so much for your time, sir.
Thank you, Ken. It was great to be on.
Absolutely.